If you have more than one cat, you know that sound. That sudden, terrifying shriek that just makes your heart plummet. Honestly, fights between cats in the same house are so stressful for everyone involved. But here's the good news. You don't have to just live with it. Today, we're going to break down how to safely stop a cat fight right when it happens, and, more importantly, how to build a lasting peace in your home. Let's dive in. Right, so there it is, that moment of pure chaos. You hear the hiss, the yowl, you see the fur flying. Your very first instinct is probably to just panic and dive right in, right? But hold on. What you do in these next few seconds is absolutely crucial. And not just for your cats, but for your own safety too. And there's a really serious reason for this warning. A cat's teeth, they're like tiny, super sharp needles. When they bite down, they inject bacteria deep, deep into your tissue. And those little puncture wounds, they can seal over almost instantly, trapping all that nasty bacteria inside. This can lead to a serious infection, sometimes in just a matter of hours. So, rule number 1 always is protect yourself first. Okay, so to stop these fights from even starting, we have to put on our detective hats. Why is this happening? What is going on in their world? Figuring out the root cause is always the first, most important step toward finding a real, long-term solution. You know, it usually boils down to just a few key things. Cats are super territorial, so one might feel like their personal space, their core area, is being invaded. Or they might be guarding resources, things like food bowls or maybe the best sunny spot on the carpet. Sometimes a cat sees another cat outside, gets all worked up, and then just attacks the closest target, which, unfortunately, is your other cat. And this is a big one. Sudden aggression can be a major red flag for some kind of hidden pain or illness. But wait a second. Are they even really fighting? Because sometimes what looks like a crazy brawl is actually just some really rough play. This chart here is a fantastic tool for telling the difference. Just look at the key signs. When they're playing, it's pretty quiet, and the claws are tucked away. In a real fight? Oh, it is loud. We're talking hissing, screaming. Their ears are pinned back flat against their heads, and the claws are definitely out. That's when you know it's serious. Okay, so you've confirmed it. This is a real fight. The noise is getting louder. The tension is through the roof. We need to talk about what you do right now to shut this down without anyone getting hurt. Think of this as your emergency stop procedure. I'm going to say it again just because it is that important. Do not, under any circumstances, reach in with your hands. In that moment, your cats are running on pure adrenaline and instinct. I mean, even the sweetest, cuddliest cat in the world won't recognize you. They'll just lash out. So the number 1 takeaway is, keep your hands out of it. So here's the safe way to step in. First, you gotta startle them. A loud clap or even dropping a big book on the floor can be enough to break that intense focus. But don't yell at them. That just adds more fear and stress to the situation. Next, create a physical barrier. Slide a big piece of cardboard, a couch cushion, whatever you can grab, right between them. Once they've backed off, just calmly herd one of the cats into another room and shut the door. Now, this next step is completely non-negotiable. After a fight, you have to keep them separated. It can take hours, sometimes a whole day, for all that adrenaline and those stress hormones to flush out of their systems. If you try to reintroduce them too soon, I can almost guarantee you that fight is just going to start right back up again. All right, breaking up the fight is just the first aid. Now we can all take a deep breath. To really, truly solve the problem, we have to get to the root of it. So let's shift gears and talk about the blueprint for building a more peaceful, harmonious home. You see, a serious fight really damages the trust between cats. You can't just expect them to get over it and be friends again. You actually have to treat them like they're complete strangers meeting for the very first time. It really means hitting a total reset on their relationship and starting over from square one. And this process takes patience. I'm not kidding. We're talking weeks, maybe even a couple of months, not days. You start with them in completely separate rooms. Then you start swapping their scents, trade their blankets or toys. This gets them used to each other's smell again, but in a totally non-threatening way. After that, you can let them see each other through a baby gate, maybe while they're eating, to build a positive association. Only then, once all that is going well, can you try short, supervised visits, always making sure to end on a good note. Okay, let's talk about one of the most powerful and, honestly, simplest tools for preventing fights in the first place. It's a little formula called the N+1 rule, and it is the absolute golden rule for managing resources in your home. The whole idea here is to create a feeling of abundance, so there's nothing to compete over. It just lowers everyone's stress. And here's exactly how it works. So if you have 2 cats, you need 3 litter boxes. 3 cats, 4 boxes. And you want to spread them out. This same rule applies to food and water stations too. It just prevents one cat from being able to guard everything. And hey, don't forget to think vertically. Cat trees, wall shelves, these things literally expand your cat's territory, letting them share a room without having to be right in each other's faces. You know, a bored cat is just a recipe for trouble. They have this incredibly strong natural instinct to hunt. And if that energy has no outlet, well, it can easily get redirected toward a housemate. Just 15 minutes of dedicated playtime a day with something like a wand toy can work wonders. It satisfies that instinct in a healthy, positive way. Look, you can do everything right, follow all the advice, but sometimes the conflict is just too deep or too complicated to solve on your own. And it is so important to be able to recognize when you're in over your head and it's time to bring in a professional. So these are the big red flags. If the fights are causing actual injuries that need a vet, if one of your cats is so terrified that it's just constantly hiding, or if that aggression starts spilling over towards you or your family, it's time to call for backup. And also, if you've been patiently trying the reintroduction process for weeks and are seeing zero progress, that's another clear sign you need an expert. So what does that action plan actually look like? Well, it's a pretty simple 2-step process. First, you go to the vet. Sudden aggression is so often a symptom of hidden pain from something like arthritis or a bad tooth. If your vet gives your cat a clean bill of health, then the next step is to find a certified cat behaviorist. They can really analyze the specific dynamics in your home and create a plan that's tailored just for you. At the end of the day, creating peace really comes down to this one question. Try to think about your home from your cat's point of view. Is there enough space, enough food, enough clean bathrooms, enough high-up perches for every single one of them to feel secure and respected? Because building a kingdom where there are plenty of resources to go around, that's the real foundation for a peaceful, happy home.